Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Building Babellion, episode 5, episode cinco, episode cinque. That's 5 in Italian for those of you out there who didn't know that. But yeah, this is episode 5. I'm here with our guest, Kalila Jonae. Please tell me I said your last name right.
Oh my god, I will tell you. It's a stage presence. Not actually. It's my middle name. My last name is Jones. Yeah, my name's Kalila Jones. Kalila Jones to many people. They don't know it's the middle name is Jonae, but yes. I got a letter in the mail from someone who made me a custom piece, and they said Kalila Jonae, and I was like, oh wait, like I like that, so it's my Instagram now. Yeah. But now you know.
Dang. I always wish my middle name was cool enough for me to like use it as an alias.
Yeah, but it flows. Yeah, Kalila Jonae.
It does really flow.
Thank you.
Well, this is a good segue into, you introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have, any aliases? What are your pronouns? Where are you from? Etc.
Etc. Any aliases? I mean, I don't know, not necessarily.
Yeah, what do they call you in the streets?
I feel like I have some nicknames, of course, like KJ, KJJ, Kalila Jones, I was saying.
Right.
Or Kalilers, that was my Instagram for a while. I was sad to part with it. People call me Kalilers. On TikTok, I'm Kalilers, so I do like that one. If that can catch on. Leelers, but I just in the streets, I don't really go there. I'm a homebody, but raised in West Philly, in the Delco area. So going to Temple, I've really, just been around, and so it's really cool. Just good to explore where I grew up on my own. Build the confidence a bit. And my pronouns, I go by she, her, they, them, whichever for you. Mix it up, whatevs. I just think, as like a potential future educator, I really want to create an environment not only for myself but for other people to have kids see themselves expressed in the people they're learning from, and just have other people practicing these things and getting more familiar with this language, so that when you go for someone who it does really matter, you are prepared. Right. Right. So that's cool. Yeah. That's a little bit about me.
All right. Kalila. How have you been spending your summer? What have you been doing?
Summer. Well, I will tell you that I have been working on some crochet commissions. Back in May, I relaunched my website, and so I've been doing commissions, and that's been really interesting. Now that I'm vaccinated, I have been getting outside, seeing friends, going to places with my mom and stuff. And what else? Oh, I'm doing a summer class as well. Just have a gen ed I need to catch up on, because I added, I was saying, the art ed concentration to my major. I declared a fibers major this spring as well.
Nice.
Really just doing all those different things, being my own boss, creating my own adventure, and just getting ready to move in I guess a week and a half now. That's pretty crazy. The summer's going so fast.
The summer is flying by. And we're almost in August.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I feel I don't know. I feel it's been an interesting summer. It wasn't really what I was expecting, but I think I've had some interesting growth in ways that I wasn't expecting for myself. And it hasn't always been easy, but I'm really grateful for those circumstances in which, they allowed me to grow. Right.
Yeah, the summer is definitely a good time to just reflect. It's a good time to, kind of check in with yourself. Right.
Yeah.
How have I changed since the school year, right? You don't have school to worry about. You don't have any of these outside influences that you're usually dealing with.
For sure.
So do you usually try and take on more projects during the summer since you have more free time? Compared to the school year?
It depends, because I've always kind of been a creative person, but it was very much the kind of thing where I was a junior and it was the spring, and it was at that point that I was like, oh, art school is a thing, maybe I could go there. So I've never really had the art kind of thing be so heavily incorporated into my schedule. Right. And so I will admit that now that it is, the modes of thinking and the ways I'm creating do kind of kind of change with like these off seasons versus these like on seasons or whatever with school. So I think things I learned in school I've carried with me into this summer, but like this is a very creative summer. I've not really made this much art or like this many crochet pieces before, so this is definitely like a new endeavor. And of course I always feel like I could be doing more, but I think something very special is I often have like the imagination, but I don't always have the motivation. And so for right now to feel like I'm in this spot where I have a lot of new ideas, but also the motivation to try things out, I'm really grateful to have the summer to like really lean into them, because I've never really had just completely open time before to do those things. There's always been something else, whether it's school or working like a summer job or just like family stuff. And so to really just right now be able to do, again, like what I'm able to do has been really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to your ideas, when it comes to, creating, crocheting, how do you usually find inspiration?
Yeah, I think it comes from all over. For example, I'll give you a little sneak peek of what I want my first collection to be. I want it to be inspired by this color palette I learned about freshman year in color theory, where it's like split combo complementary. And so I want to use those color palettes to make like sets of pieces. And so I was really just brainstorming the other day, like with these colors, what could I make? And like kind of thinking outside of the box, with different shapes and different forms. And just again, with like growing my my social media presence this summer, I've like gotten to talk to different people. I've gotten different commissions that have just inspired me to think of things that I might not have thought about on my own, or to like kind of talk out things that I've been thinking about. It's just kind of really informed by what's around me and like who am I talking to. I really am very interested in like the process, just for like whatever people are doing and like explaining what I'm doing. And I feel like those conversations just stimulate what I'm able to make or what I could think about making.
Yeah, so when you take commissions, you say you do like a consultation, right? So people come to you with an idea. How does that go?
And that's new too, and that's been interesting, because I will maybe open Procreate and like sketch some things, or I'll just ask different questions, and like people have come with ideas like for things I wouldn't have thought about. Like I've been making a lot of hat-based commissions, and that was not really something I had been doing for a while. And something that's really opened the doors, like someone wanted a mushroom hat, and we worked through all these different kind of ways to do it, and then we settled on 2 different ones, and that has also just like opened up my thinking about like what could a hat be, and like if it's like a novelty hat or a really large hat, or like like your basic hat. And I think that was also really good for just expanding my idea of like what am I capable of making, so definitely those conversations.
Yeah, and I noticed a lot of your art is wearable, which I really, really enjoy. Like, how's that been exploring that avenue? When did you get into it, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly when I got into it, but I think I switched between different kinds of things, but wearable has definitely been on my mind since high school. I will like think of different like costumes or things that I would maybe one day like to make. Like since I was a kid, I was thinking about those things, and so I guess wearable has always been on my mind, and it's now kind of something that I've gotten to the level where I'm able to lean into it, more. And just kind of the courses I'm taking at Tyler, or like this one kind of wearable art class that I took in high school, where we did different jewelry and explore like how are we making art that then can adorn our bodies.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But I don't really always think of it as art, so thank you for saying that.
No, I think like I've been thinking a lot about like fashion and how the things you wear can speak so much to who you are on the inside and what you stand for and what you want people to see. And like I love the idea of like using art that you create yourself as like a means of adorning your body, like you said. So I think that's super cool.
Absolutely.
Super dope.
I think it ties into how I feel about my hair and starting there and kind of those things I was doing earlier this year with my Black History Month project on hair and kind of like making my hair the art.
Right.
Just like you said, like expressing yourself through this like exterior medium and like being the art. There really is art all around us. You're right, Josh. Yeah.
And let's talk about that for a second. So how does your identity, right, as a person of color sort of influence the art that you create and the ways you, I don't know, express that art or wear that art?
I think it definitely affects the way that I make art, not only from the way that I'm experiencing the world in a unique way from like I went to a predominantly white school for many years, and so
feel that
kind of the experiences that I just had outside of school were unique to a lot of my peers, but also the ones that I was having in school were unique to that of a lot of my neighbors. And so it's kind of these two kind of worlds that I bring together.
Yeah.
And like the things that I've been able to learn and the people I've been able to meet very much are informed by that kind of access to opportunity, but also just like that setting, you know, and kind of now that I'm in Tyler, I have been able to meet different people and kind of explore the city, and like through that I have been exposed to other Black artists who are kind of doing things and a bit older and a bit more established, and getting in conversation with them and making those connections has also informed my art. But I think just also like my personality as a person too, just the things that are important to me inform my art. And I think for me, like things that are very important in whatever I'm making is just like using colors, like use of color makes me very happy inside. Comfort is something that during quarantine has become very important with like all of those 3D forms that I was making.
Right.
And then kind of just like being able to see myself in the work. When I was in a real digital art era, I was kind of looking into like how can I use these colors and this like technology again that I've been given access to because of those spaces I was in, and kind of, you know, like put Black people in it, you know, or just kind of hint at it, you know, because the work for a while it was using different colors, like people's skin would be teal, their hair would be purple, but it's like something about the way I was drawing it, you would still know like this is a person of color, and like kind of creating, you know, that space for myself in the art world, and also just in, you know, like I've been saying, like seeing myself and letting other people see themselves. Right. Because especially, you know, like growing up for us, like where were we seeing ourselves and what we like to do?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, representation is so key. It's so key.
Because, you know, all representation is not good representation.
Also true.
So I'm also very mindful of that as well. It's like a little bit of a pressure sometimes. Of what am I putting out there? Because, you know, a lot of things, you know, they just slap, you know, a queer person out there, or like a person of color, like boom, boom, job done, slap on the wrist. But it's like, what are you then saying with those narratives? Like, what are you actually saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and as Black artists, I feel like you don't necessarily have to like take a stance or, you know, be all about representation. I get what you're saying. But there's definitely, you're in a position where you can influence a lot of people with the stuff that you're creating and the art that you're making, and it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity.
It is an opportunity. Right. You know, to like kind of inform people of new things. But at least for me, sometimes it's also a little daunting, where especially with just the past year and like all of us in the house and all of the things happening in the world, feeling like sometimes that I ought to be taking a stance or something, or ought to be more vocal about things, especially just like on social media and like whatever the whole social media activism thing. But I mean, it's like people at the end of the day aren't always seeing everything that you do, and they don't know what you're doing like off that account or like on a different account. You know? Like at the end of the day, it's like
away from the screen.
I can't, you know, always educate everyone, but I do like to educate myself, you know?
Right.
So it's like still that balance though, especially like I could only imagine for people like Beyonce.
Yeah.
Like
oh my God.
Pressure, the Beyonce moment to you know, make that work that you're doing public, you know, or to like encourage other people, you know.
Right, for
like
sure.
Balancing those two things, I feel like is something people of color in this day and age have to be mindful of.
Yeah.
Whether we want to or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially as artists and creatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll drag you. They'll drag you.
Oh, I'm on Twitter. Yes, they will.
I've Twitter, ruthless.
Twitter don't play, Josh.
Black Twitter does not mess around. But yeah. Speaking on Black issues, you incorporate a lot of your artwork into your hair, which I really, really, really love as well.
Thank you.
So creative. But like, speak on that a little bit. When did you start? Like,
yeah, I think it's been a very kind of recent thing for me, and it's so interesting because I feel like with going to college and everything, it kind of happened then, and that people who know me now, they're just thinking of it like that's like my whole person. But you know, I grew up with like the press and curl like everybody else. Like I looked very different physically like up until maybe like 2019.
Yeah.
And I think in cutting my hair off senior year that I had to then learn different ways and kind of and having that little bit of honestly separation from my parents, like just being able to be a little bit more of myself and kind of think about like a lot of the narratives that you know I was told when like I was a kid about like other people and like having like colorful hair, like tattoos, this and that, and kind of just leaning in. And I'm still leaning in, you know, it's like not even full form yet, Josh, just to what it means to be myself. And then as I do that, finding like such joy in that expression and always thinking, what else could I do? Like how, like you said the word adorn, like how can I adorn my body through my hair? How I think my hair definitely does say a bit about how I'm feeling too, like how it's done. Did I just put it up in a bun?
Yeah.
You know? But definitely, I just think it's something so special. It's like, because, you know, for so long, it's like, are you really told that your natural hair is beautiful? I've listened to a lot of podcasts when I was doing research on my hair project and, you know, people talking about just in the office, like, how you're allowed to wear your hair in certain spaces, or like little girls in school getting disciplined for just kind of wearing their hair when you know other girls come back from like the Bahamas with long ends.
The cultural appropriation
and just that constant like kind of censorship of Black and brown bodies, where when people who are not in those groups do it, they are kind of idolized, you know? And so just kind of not only owning up to that thing that makes you who you are, like as a Black woman in this world, but also kind of, you know, really owning it is something that I'm slowly trying to do and like get better at it, especially just, you know, like being in college, being my own person, I have to do my own hair. My mom's not gonna do it anymore. And so kind of just doing it my way and like not being afraid to do it my way, you know. I was a little afraid to dye it
explore that
a different color this week because again of like what other people think, what my parents would think, those narratives, but I realized I can't, you know, be my full self if I'm not my full self. So I'm trying to lean in, and I'm really curious what could be next, you know, like we talked about back in February during our interview, just like what is the future of Black hair.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And like identity is, I feel like as a Black artist, is very important, especially because I feel like for me, I'm always trying to figure out how can I incorporate these aspects of my identity into the things I create so that I can create representation that's authentic and that, you know, people can see that and sort of take inspiration from that. But identity is so core.
definitely.
Let's talk about your hair project as well. That you made like a quilt, a 9-block quilt.
Yes, I made a 9-block digital quilt that was, like you said, inspiration. I'm constantly finding artists these days that I am inspired by, and this year's inspiration for my project was Bisa Butler, and she makes physical quilts, again, using all those colors. They're so beautiful and so vibrant, and just kind of telling Black stories through her medium, you know, and kind of, again, with the research I was doing, the heritage of like quilting, and just the Black community and like slavery and everything. And so thinking about like, how can I use that history of storytelling using these like kind of modern tools and like my own wheelhouse to tell this story. And so every year since I was 17, I believe, I've done a digital project in February, and I try to make it something different every year. And this year I really wanted to switch it up because I always do portraits, but from going again to art school, I've like expanded my idea of what is a portrait. And so in a way, this quilt is a self-portrait. It is me, but I'm not in it, you know? Well, I'm in one of them, kind of. But it's like through these items, I'm showing people myself and my story. And so I like the idea of the self-portrait that doesn't have the face in it. And so through these 9 pieces, I was kind of chronicling what I can remember and what I've learned about my hair, you know, like starting with barrettes and beads and things from being a little girl to like the last piece kind of being with like going to the salon to get my hair dyed, you know, and just like all this stuff in between, and just like watching movies, reading things. And something else I was doing was just like talking to other people over Zoom and learning their stories and like what was your hair story, your history, you know? And you were one of them, Josh. That was a great conversation too. And my mom keeps asking, is the world going to get to hear these conversations?
Oh, wow.
I don't know yet. I don't know, because I'm not really an editor, but I really just wanted them. I wanted this record. You know, little Solange moment, little seat at the table moment, just getting these audios of people so dear to me and kind of reflecting with them and growing from them, and, you know, maybe one day they will make it out into the world.
I hope so. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Let's backtrack a little bit because I'm just realizing I didn't really properly introduce you. What is your major? What school do you go to?
Oh my God. Okay, so this spring I declared a fiber and material studies major with an art ed concentration. It's gonna take 5 years, so I will actually graduate in the spring of 2024.
Wow. Dang.
And where do I go to school? Where am I doing this fibers major? I'm doing it at Temple University's Tyler School of Art and Architecture.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to Tyler. Shout out to Temple University, baby.
Hoot.
Hi, guys. We're back. Short little intermission. You might have experienced a weird little edit there. That's because we had to reset the camera, but it's okay because we're back on track now with the next question. Are you ready, Kalila?
I'm ready. Yes.
So, you're fiber and
material studies
major. If you could choose any other major, what would you pick? Or would you pick one?
I was actually thinking about this when I saw your questions. I came into Tyler undeclared, but I was thinking I was going to do graphic design. And so last year I actually was prepping, you know, to be a graphic design major, and I was doing, not to toot my horn, but I was doing pretty good. You know, I was like on track, but it just wasn't the kind of thing that was making me feel inspired or making me feel happy. And so I kind of, fibers was like the other choice in major. I took this intro class and I just really loved it and the things that I could do, and I thought, well, I have no idea what I'm going to do with a fiber and material studies major, but you know, college, it's a lot of money and you've got a lot of resources right here. I might as well just lean in to the experiences that I could have right now, today, and, you know, the next, I don't know, however many years.
Right.
And just kind of do stuff. So, yeah. And I think I'm very happy and I'm very excited to be joining the Fibers program.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm more of an illustrator than kind of the brand identity thing. And a lot of my peers are very talented. I'm very excited to see what they're going to do in the GAID program.
Wow. Yeah, that's another question. So at the Tyler School of Art, you're obviously surrounded by like a bunch of creative people. Do you find that you're encouraged to sort of work with these people? Or are you more somebody who likes to work by themselves? Does it change over time?
I think that I'm definitely someone who benefits from collaboration and again that conversation and explaining of ideas.
Right.
And being around people. Something that was hard, of course, with Zoom, is that we didn't have studio time together or really that time to be on the side kind of working and talking about what we were thinking or like getting critiques along the way. Because, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, Josh, like going to art school, sometimes there's some idea stealers. But a lot of the times, like, it can be very encouraging to talk to other people about your ideas and get those critiques, those affirmations. But also through that process, you can discover something completely different that you want to do that you might not have thought about on, like, the first rendition or, like, on the day the project was assigned. So I think for me personally, it's been really helpful talking to other people because, again, it's, like, not an environment that I've gotten to be in before. It was very exciting, but also a little overwhelming freshman year to be around so many art kids. I was like, I need a little break now. Right. I'd go back to my dorm because I just wasn't used to it. In my school, I was the art kid, you know?
Right.
So now everyone's there.
For sure. Yeah, I remember when I was a freshman as well, like coming into the film program, all these film majors, I was like, what?
Yes, especially people who've been doing it for years.
Yes.
I just kind of started randomly drawing on my iPad because my friend found this program and they were like, yo, like, look at this. And just trying that, like, because I had the iPad for school, open those doors. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what major I was going to be in if I hadn't had that kind of catalyst, you know?
Yeah.
Because some people really knew for years. They've been like doing art, doing studios. They can like whip out a still life. I have not really had that background. And it was something where like art is very enriching to me, but I just didn't have that, you know, that push.
Right.
So yeah, it's very interesting going to Tyler. You meet people who it's like art is their whole life forever.
Right.
And people who are kind of in a similar boat to me where it's very new.
Yeah, I can imagine. So speaking of like that catalyst moment, did you have that? Can you think back to like the time where you thought, yeah, like I want to pursue this in the future? I mean, you came in undeclared, so.
Yeah. I think it was definitely that spring of junior year after I'd done my first edition of the Black History Month project. I began doing these portraits, and it's when I started doing those that I was really getting into drawing more regularly and like a little bit more in depth to what I was doing, because before I was just kind of making these little sticker guys and just doodling, you know. And so I think that was the moment when I was just like, oh, like this is interesting for me. And then of course that summer, like visiting colleges and visiting these other art schools and kind of like just showing them the kind of stuff, you know, that I'd made in art class or that I mostly just made with myself for myself, and just being like, yeah, you can do that here. Like, yeah, this is fine. Because I was just like, well, okay, then like maybe I'll go to art school. Yeah. And it really just was in 2018. Just I was like, yeah, well, let me give this a try and see where it goes. And I think I'm really happy being at Tyler, of course, because I didn't know I was going to go to Temple. I didn't want to go to Temple for a while, but I'm really glad I did.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Temple.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel like your family supported your like college choices or your major?
Yeah, I think my mom definitely is the most supportive, especially too during the time when I decided I don't want to do graphic design. I was actually considering transferring, to a school that did have an illustration specific program. Yeah. And she was also very just supportive of that as well. And, in the end, I found the Fibers program, and I am happy that I'm still at Temple. But just with these changes, she's been very supportive. She recently bought a piece from my shop. Hey. She's always stealing my stuffies and being like, this is mine now. Oh, wow. And just, it's very affirming to have that support from my mom. And, sometimes she wishes that she'd seen that I was so into art sooner. Yeah. And kind of... wow. Encourage that the way that she's helping my brother with his passions in music. It's his was just this stronger thing, mine was kind of just everyone doesn't know about the arts. They think of it as a hobby instead of a career. But she's definitely even just letting me stay home this summer and just crochet on the couch. Very supportive. Definitely my mom is a big support in my life, just in everything.
That's so cool. And I think that's so important to have as an artist, a good support system, especially from your family.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. But everyone really, I don't think all of them exactly know what I do. Right. When I came to my dad's house, he was like, can you paint some stuff on the wall, showing me YouTube? So I was like, oh no. But, I just letting me be me. And I think that's very special. But yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I don't think my mom knows what I'm doing in school.
If I knew what I was doing, honestly.
Even more true, yeah.
I think I'm taking sewing this fall. Don't know what's going to happen, but it was on the elective list.
So...
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Right. So you dabble in a lot of other art forms. Do you have a favorite?
Yes. I would say, I didn't always know it could be an art form, but there are definitely people who identify as crochet artists or soft sculpture artists. And I think, especially too, because of how I grew up, crocheting has always been very important to me. And I will speak on that more. But I just like picking up different stuff. I like collage, the digital thing. I dabble. Right. And just kind of whatever I can get my hands on. I just think I have these themes that show up throughout my work, and I'm always picking up something and then kind of dropping it. Yeah. But just kind of how to visually express myself is kind of this ongoing journey. Even with I don't know how to do a full face of makeup, but I'm getting really into just throwing colors on my eyes and doing stuff. And even my mom, those have really grown on her as well. My grandma, she's got some words, but she's going to be 81 tomorrow. So, it's not bullying. She just doesn't get it. She likes it, though. I know she does.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, I think at the end of the day, crocheting is, just so near and dear to my heart. It's been literally a part of my life since I was a newborn. My Gigi crocheted. And just kind of, when she passed away, she left this, big legacy behind. Right. Of, just providing comfort for others and kind of that sense of community, just making granny squares. Yeah. For just our family and just people who needed them. Right. And so, she lived with us for a while when I was in middle school. And so I spent one summer just every day going to her room and just spending hours with her. And that kind of also inspired me to take this thing I learned when I was 9 and get into it more.
I'm shedding a tear. Okay.
I know, I
that's
talking
such a
about
heartwarming story.
I don't think about it much, but when I do, I'm wow, because I learned when I was in 4th grade because I wanted to impress her at the next function, And then living with her, I wanted to try it more because I wanted to be like her. I wanted to impress her, and then when she passed away, it was kind of I'm never crocheting again. But then something happened one day where I was no, I have to. Something's telling me I have to. And kind of becoming this way to honor her and her memory in a way. And I feel it's getting to this point where I'm I hope she can see, because I feel I've kind of stepped into my own thing and maybe making my own legacy question mark. Right. Of just
no question mark. No question mark.
Just kind of doing my thing and
wow.
Just even still, like, I keep this blanket that she made on my headboard, and when I'm in Zoom and stuff, people are like, oh, just assuming I made it, but it's hers, and it's just this source of comfort for me.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it's just crocheting. I'm really glad now to know that it's something that I can do, and especially with quarantine and everything, it's getting quite popular. I will tell you, in middle school, people call me crochet queen, but there were a couple grandmas out there, a couple reading it, being like crocheting, and I was like, no, it's crochet. So it's come a long way from those days, and it's kind of cool now to like be able to lean into it and like really see where it goes, because it's very near and dear to me, and it's been a part of my life for like a long time now, like probably around like a decade now. Ooh. That's
crazy.
So it's crazy that now I feel like I'm really hitting a stride right now. So that's most of the question about my art form. I think that I do a lot of stuff, but that one is my favorite. It's my favorite.
Okay, so when did you start selling your work?
I would say that was actually a couple years ago. I used to do this yearly sale in high school, and that was when I was making hats. I was like in an animal hat era there. So it's interesting to come back to hats now, because I thought that was done. I'm kind of enjoying it though, so it's neat. But yeah, how do I explain this story too? I hope you're ready for this one as well.
I'm ready.
I had taken violin lessons for a long time, and it was when I stopped freshman year that I learned the school had been paying for them all that time, and I learned how much those lessons were, and it became very real. And so I just wanted to do something kind of like as a thank you, but also to raise money for like, you know, like other kids on financial aid like me who might want to do some music. So I just started doing that as a way to like kind of raise money for the music program, and I would also like the whole fair was raising money for the school, and so I was like, make sure this goes to music. And so that was my first time vending when I was in 9th grade, and that was pretty cool. Like, definitely sold the stuff dirt cheap. Everything was $10. I did not know how the value of my work. I'm still trying to figure that out right now. But, you know, like, people really liked it, and so I came back the next, 3 years, and every year I kind of, like, did something different, and you could kind of see my growth as, like, with my crocheting, doing those things, and I kind of missed it, you know, the first year out of high school, like, being able to do that sale and see those people, so I would like to vend again one day. So this is really my first experience with like the whole online thing. And shipping was something I learned this year, because I've always done like, you know, local, like people I know. So definitely shipping is something new. But yeah, I've sold a couple things here or there. You know, I'm still on the up and up. I'm still new. But yeah, that's my experience with selling stuff.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. Oh my God. Was it scary at first?
It was.
At least with your online shop.
A little daunting at first with my online shop, especially just like I kept going back to like, how am I gonna do shipping and like just like reading all these things, watching these videos, and just kind of walking. Luckily I live 5 minutes from the post office in my neighborhood. Shout out Craig from the USPS. Shout out Craig if you're watching this, which it might be a little weird. I don't think he knows that I know his name. I saw his name tag. I'm always doing that. I'm reading people's name tags and then saying it when I like leave as a way to mask how like anxious I am. And people will be like, do you know them? I'm like, no. No. Oh wow. But yeah, I was a bit nervous. I was also nervous, like, would I even get any sales at all from my website? You know, especially I don't want to pay for domains. So it's not even quite as simple to search. You really have to like know about the link. But yeah, I have had some sales. It's been interesting. I had one go out to Indiana, one in Los Angeles. I have some interest right now for Canada. So that's pretty neat. Okay. The power of international social media, I know.
That's on globalization. That's on a world economy.
Yes. I mean, if the shipping rates weren't so high, I'd have it going to Brazil.
Right.
But yeah, those shipping rates will get you. And I understand it because I would not want to pay $30 either.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, if I can like segue into that, like social media has been really a helpful tool in kind of getting my business, I guess, like off the ground. Because, I had some people who have known I was crocheting and who were like waiting for it to come out. But I've also like had a lot of new through social media and through kind of becoming more engaged with social media this summer than I was in the past, and kind of posting more regularly, making reels. I was like, I don't really know what a reel is. I feel like Instagram tries to be every other app and does it better somehow. Like first they were Snapchat and they were kind of being better at Snapchat than Snapchat.
Low key, the Instagram stories.
Yes, with the stories and just being able to like send those pictures. I like on Instagram how you like can see the last thing that you said in the corner to someone. That is very helpful. And just like kind of their integration with other apps. But that's a segue. Yeah. But I discovered Reels this summer. And I don't know. I had this one that like got a couple 100K views. I don't know how, but that's really what like doubled my following and like got like people internationally who were like wanting to see my stuff. And so I don't have like a lot of followers, but I feel like I have a nice network now of people who are like liking my work and like commenting on my stuff, and it really just kind of like gives me inspiration, but also keeps me going a little bit, having this interest of people being like, I love your work, and I was like, it's just my silly little thing. Please. But I do the Instagram thing. I try the TikTok thing. It's just fun. At the end of the day, I just like to have fun, and I think the most humbling thing about it is people accepting me just for being myself. I'm a little quirky, a little cute, but just being able to be myself and have people be positively receptive of that. I think that is the most important thing, because capitalism, it's got a tight grip on us all. Right. But if you can really just, at least for right now, just kind of do it your own way and not be like committed to it. I feel like I could still like put it down, It's not like I have to do it. Right. It's just fun right now.
Yeah. You made a Tyler the Creator art piece. You made a little digital art piece.
Yes.
I assume. Do you find that musicians inspire you in your work?
Yes. I'm not even cap. One of my biggest inspirations in the past year with quarantine has been this artist named Toby Lou. No capitals. I love Toby Lou. I'm not usually a stan person, but something about his music, and not only his music, but his visuals, his hair puffs, like I just, it really spoke to me. And also the kind of things, thinking about like all these colors and like cartoons and these peppy happy lyrics, but when you're listening, some of it is actually quite sad. And kind of feeling like I'm a person who everyone thinks is very bubbly, very happy, but I have an anxiety disorder, and I'm often kind of like very overwhelmed by the world, and started leaning into artwork as well, like digitally, that kind of conveyed those not so happy feelings, but it's still very upbeat, very colorful. And I think he is definitely just one of my creative inspirations. I've actually done like a couple different pieces inspired by his work. But just like with the whole portrait thing, and then recently with like the Tyler the Creator piece, just I'll like listen to music, or I'll like a different artist kind of like album or anything, and just for like the practice and everything, especially when I was getting started, I just draw them, and I'd like trying to come up with like compositions. But for sure, Toby Lou is a big inspiration, and the artist who does his work, Meech, she's really awesome as well. We actually had a little exchange on Twitter once when I did my Halloween project inspired by her artwork of his albums. It's just very crazy. The internet, man, like what you can do. Toby Lou saw the one piece and he left an emoji. I was like fangirling so hard. It was like a shook face emoji, just like, I was like, hello, Mr. Hayami.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, if I could see him in concert one day, that would be really cool. That'd be really cool. Definitely. Just everything around me. Like, music I'm listening to, people I'm talking to, being in nature. It's like, there's inspiration that can really come from everywhere.
For sure. Yeah, so I'd like to talk about at least your creative process. So
my favorite question.
Yeah. When you have an idea, like, how do you approach, like, getting that into the real world?
Sometimes I really just kind of go for it. But a lot of times recently in the past year, I have started with a sketch, like whether it's on Procreate or in this journal that I keep and I use Crayola crayons. I will like think up what is in my mind and kind of draw it out. It can be very like rudimentary. And just from there, like think about feelings, color, is there a message, is there no message, you know, size, you know, like what is around. Sometimes I'll just rearrange the yarn that I have in different orientations, and like just seeing different colors together makes me think about different things. And you like good talking to people and kind of just through that kind of piecing together what I want to do. Is there any prep work? I don't really use a lot of patterns anymore, but I do work a lot based on just picture. I would just look at lots and lots and lots of pictures and like be like, how would this look in my style? Like, or I don't know if I have a style, like whatever I like to do with my shapes is what I'll do. You know, look at a lot of pictures, draw some pictures, and just kind of experiment, you know, with like color and stuff, especially with my plushies. I love them so much. My burbs.
The burbs.
I love the burbs. Those will sometimes just come out of nowhere, but sometimes they come from sketches, and those are so fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love talking about the process. It's so fun. I like to make TikToks about like, how did I get from point A to point B?
Yeah, what's the usual time span? I guess it depends on like the project.
It does depend. Like,
at least for your crocheting stuff.
Again, speaking to the like reel that was like, that was like 24 hours. I was feverish with that one. I was taking a nap. I saw this hat in my nap, woke up, drew it with the crayons, wrote some notes, went back to sleep, and then afterwards I was like, I was up to like, I passed out. I was up super late. Then after breakfast, I was like, until it was finished because I wanted to see where it would go. It was looking a little rough for a while, like a banana. But in the end, I think it was a good first attempt. And then, of course, talking to people, I have like edits I'd want to make to it now. So that one was very fast. But other times, I get bored or I get distracted or I get a new idea. So I'm going to say the timestamp is somewhere from like 3 days to a week. Because if it takes more than that, aside from this one project that I did this summer, I probably will not finish it if it takes more than a week. I have a very like finite attention span for project turnaround. I always have.
That's another question.
I've never made a blanket. I can't do it. It stays too long.
Right. Wow. So you feel like you struggle on like the finishing end of things, but starting, you're pretty solid. I start so many things. I think we all as artists like start so many things. Finishing is the real achievement. You feel inspired by nature? Does going out help you process
seeing that question was very interesting when I was looking at the list, because I didn't think about that until I saw that question. I have been in a lot of green spaces, at least on social media it looks like that, and I would like to more just in reality, because especially just with quarantine and everything, there's something about being where the blue sky is, something about the green and the grass and sitting on the blanket and just being outside with friends that is so different from being alone in my room where I often am, especially in this past year. And it's like, I don't know. I don't even necessarily think of myself as a naturey person. More so just the circumstances. For a long time, we could only link up outside. And so parks became the place, the spot, because everyone didn't have a backyard. And so through that, I started, you know, hanging out with people there. Sometimes I will try to go myself there or like bring my crocheting there. And it is a very nice space.
Yeah, how does space or the environment you in impact the art you create or the final product?
The final product? I guess, like, you know, like how much space I have around me is kind of dictating, like, what size item I'm gonna make.
Yeah.
You know, like, at this point, my room is full of, like, stuffed animals.
Right.
So I'm like, let me make smaller stuff because that'll fit, and it'll also make it more accessible for people to buy as well.
Right.
Like, again, thinking about, like, measuring my own work, my own worth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really just depends. I'd really like to build something big one day. Something just big, big, big.
Yeah. What would you make? Like a quilt? A blanket?
I want to make a soft sculpture.
Ooh. What was I just saying?
You were asking about my soft sculpture.
Yes.
Yes, I actually started one earlier this year. Didn't finish it because, again, it's just so big. And the timeline.
Right.
I have new ideas. But in my wildest dreams, I'd like to build a big soft sculpture of anything.
Describe a soft sculpture to me.
So, okay, I will. It's something I have recently kind of become aware of. It's using a soft medium, whether it's like a malleable plastic or yarn or fabric, to make a shape that is familiar. So that shape could really be anything.
Yeah.
For instance, you could become a soft sculpture. Ooh. You know, this vacuum could be the soft sculpture. It could be something kind of fantastical. It could really be anything that kind of reflects reality in, like, you know, craft, or it could be like anything you imagine. And so that is a very interesting concept for me. I follow this artist, Yarn Girl Liv, and
shout outs.
She just has, like, since I was in 9th grade, just following her, been so inspirational, seeing, like, she builds big and like uses a lot of colors, and just, what was her big one? This, like, giant ice cream cone that looked like it was melting.
Wow.
And just, like, kind of that expanded what I knew crocheting to be.
Yeah.
And so I would really just like to do that. And what was I building? Oh, I was building a plug and play. Because it's, again, so random, just the creative process. I was trying to crochet a lizard burb, but it came out looking like a sari piece. And so then at like 2 a.m. I was like, but what if I put this on something else? It's kind of like a joystick. Oh my god, I've seen a joystick before. A plug and play. What if I made a ginormous plug and play?
Oh.
And so,
what's a plug and play?
A plug and play, Josh. I love old TVs so much right now because you can put the plug and plays in them. There's this thing from, like, Jack Specific in 2005 where, you know, you plug it into the audio, you plug it into the visual, put in the batteries, and you're, like, playing a video game. I have 2 different SpongeBob ones, a Hot Wheels one, and a Namco one with, like, Pac-Man and, like, all that stuff. And so the Namco one is the one that's inspiring me. And I recently found it at my house, so now I'm keeping it in my room as a reference. And I think I want to make a scale model before building big, because, you know, before I was just, like, going off pictures during that week I wanted to make it, and I think it would have gotten confusing.
I love how, and you were speaking on this, how, like, 3D art, like, in a 3-dimensional space, kind of gives you, or kind of forces you to think outside the box a lot, because you have to, there's so much you can do, so much you can work with, so much you can manipulate, so many things you can represent, like,
yeah, it's literally just, like, kind of wide open. And in the past year, I think for a while, burbs, they literally were just burbs. They were birds. And in quarantine, I really started expanding that to just, like, different animals, different shapes, and, like, being like, whoa, like, it could be this word for me that means anything. And in my sketchbook, it's like burbs, they look like Pop-Tarts, they look like goldfish bags, you know.
I love that.
For my fibers class, she really let me do anything. For my first critique, I made like this big, just a baked bean can with,
excuse
like,
my stomach,
blue colors, you know, just like being like, it could be anything, and how does it fit in space, how does it look all the way around, and just kind of being okay with knowing I'm not great with sewing or painting, but I tried it with this project and incorporated it into something I do know, crocheting. And so I still really want to do that with burbs, and I'm thinking about it with my first collection, just like it could be anything. Like, how does 3D work? Because, you know, you can draw it, and drawing three-dimensional plane's also kind of tricky, but like when it's physical and like it's this like scale or like color material, it does get very real.
Right.
Real hardcore.
Yeah. So tactile too. You have to be so hands-on. Yeah.
And just, my style too. Since my platform's growing, people will like ask for patterns. I was like, I just be doing stuff. Like, I don't know how to tell these grown-ups. Like, I can't explain it to you because I really just do whatever is creating the shape, and it sees it over time. And like my pieces, I like them to be unique, but they also sometimes to a fault are unique because I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of feel it in that moment, like what piece can I put here to like make the shape I need to make, and I just like that challenge.
I think we can start wrapping up the podcast.
Excellent.
Let's go to our final questions. First, is there a message that you seek to spread as a person of color or just about art in general through your work?
I think that if there was a message, it would just be like that, like I'm here, like I exist,
right?
You know, and just all of my different intersectional identities, you know, that those exist too, and kind of like giving myself a voice and like encouraging other people have your voice, have it. You know, it doesn't matter like how many materials you have or like where you start from. You can like kind of pursue this thing. It may not always go to like, you know, the stardom level or like the acclaim level, but if it's making you happy and you can find the time for it, you should do it. But I think more than anything with whatever I'm making, I like to give this idea of comfort and the comfort that I'm finding within myself and being able to share that comfort with other people. It's a big thing for me right now. Just like comfort and like what does that mean?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, in our capitalist society, we tend to like turn these hobbies of ours and really just sap the fun from it. And we're just like, how can I monetize this? How can I make money? How can I put this out there? But like you said, you're having fun with it. And I think that should be...
And I hope I can keep the fun because the last thing I want in this world is to hate crochet.
Yeah. Do you have any last messages? Any artists out there, whoever's watching this?
Can I plug my socials?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram, as we said at the beginning. Kalila_Jonae.
Caleb, you can put the like link boxes between my hands. Boxes,
because my name is a little hard to spell, I guess. Right. Then, you know, there's Kalila Crochet, just all there on Instagram. TikTok, there is Kalilers with a Z.
Kalilers.
And yeah, I also have an art account, Little Doodles. But I don't really post on there right now. But it's still, there's still some groovy stuff on there.
Right.
And of course, just, I don't know, stay cool, you cool cats and kittens.
Yes, stay cool.
Get outside. Go for a walk.
Yes, go for a walk.
Go for
Drink
a
your
walk.
water.
Drink your water.
Yes. All right, that's the end of our podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Shout out to our extra special guest, Kalila Jones.
Thank
She's
you for
dope.
having me.
She's awesome. It's our pleasure. She makes 3D stuff.
Yeah.
She also crochets. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it. Bye. Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
I love that ending.